Call this meeting to order. We have taken our roll, and we were in closed session before this, so we do have a quorum, and so I'd like to do the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. All right. Sorry, let me put my glasses on. I need a motion for the approval of the minutes for May 18th business meeting and closed session.
So moved. Second.
Mike and Don.
Mike Davenport.
Aye.
Don Renner.
Aye.
Julia Beckman.
Aye.
Terry Pavicic.
Aye. Motion carried. Okay. First reception of visitors. This is an opportunity for the audience to speak on, to address the board on an agenda item. Is there anybody? Nope, okay.
Mrs. Pavicic, can I make a comment?
Sure.
We have Mr. Bellina here tonight.
Oh.
In fact, this is Mr. Bellina's last board meeting. As an employee of District 99, he'll retire in 15 days. And he's had successful and important career in District 99. We'd like to recognize him for
Absolutely.
Thank you, Greg. I know all of my problems you've solved when it comes to my computer, so thank you. And yes, you'll see me at Menards. Take care. Okay. Our first report is energy conservation.
Thank you, Mrs. Pavicic.
Where is?
District 99, approximately 13 years ago, embarked on an energy conservation agenda to save money by basically not spending it on energy. And over the 13 years we've been directly involved. In fact, we've saved probably over $1 million. Is that correct, Mr. Pelletier?
Well, 6 million.
6 million.
Our next slide will
Sorry.
show that.
Wow.
6 million. That's money we didn't have to spend because we didn't waste energy and electricity. And Ms. McCartney has been part of this since the beginning. Apparently, she has problems getting here because of the weather. And she cannot be here tonight, and that would be significant because she's stepping down from this position at the end of the year to deal with some personal responsibilities, and so she will not be part of the presentation tonight, but we did want to acknowledge her service over the last 13 years in this program. We have good news, correct, Mr. Collegier?
We certainly do.
And so we'd like to present good news that makes us happy, especially when we save money. So, Tim, go ahead.
These are always good ones because you can't lie on what's coming in, our energy costs, and when you put the data in and the graphs that you look at, it's truly exciting. As Mark introed, there's our last, and we cut off in March of 2015 because that's the last time we inputted the bills. But there's some numbers of the last 12 and a half years of expected energy cost and our actual cost. So our program savings close to $6 million, percentage of 26%. So those are big numbers. And the program's done well and will continue to do well. Recent project success and a couple of grants that are coming in. We have 2. I put in for a DCEO grant for last year's South Auditorium lighting. We put LED lighting. That's around $23,995. And also there was another grant available that I applied for, a $40,000 grant from DCEO, and we got approved for that. So roughly $63,995 will be coming back within the next, well, I'd say October, so 6 months or so. On the horizon's a big project, and that's the North High boilers and those old Kiwanis that are living at North High. And we're hoping to do that starting in spring and continuing through the summer of next year, and we'll reap huge benefits once we get those big battleships out of there and put some new condensing units in and start saving big gas money.
That'd be great.
Are they they're not the original, that's not the original boiler?
No, that's not the original.
That's good. Phew.
They are old, though.
They're old,
Close to
yes, I
50
know
years.
that.
Here's some different and exciting stuff. Our students are really getting excited about conservation. This past year in physical science classes, every class took a field trip to the Downers Grove Sanitary District, seeing how the plant worked. So they were real excited to go through there and really see how water waste and how you can look at water a different way and not waste it, and everything from a shower to how it's recycled. So exciting stuff for our students. Also, Earth Day, April 22nd this past spring, celebrated by many of the classes, presentations on renewable energy, wind, solar, geothermal. So a lot of presentations, kids were excited about that. We also, at our energy committee this past spring, had a presentation from some students from South High School on solar energy, green roofs, windmills. So it was exciting. The kids were excited to give the presentation, and we enjoyed having them. Program success. Teamwork is huge. I think that's the most important thing. In my 10 years here at District 99, what I've seen more than anything in the past 10 years is the human behavior change. The staff turning off lights, turning off gymnasium lights, coaches. That has been the biggest change that I've seen. I think that's really important, because if everyone works together, you just reap so many benefits. And just having those shut off, we still audit the buildings, but there's so much less out there on not only closing the windows at night and saving energy for heat and air conditioning, but shutting off all electric and lighting in the classroom. So as you can see, we still do our data analysis. We have free on-site training from Synergistic. That's the company we started with. Facility audits, we still look for ways to improve. LED lighting is a huge one out there. We still have other areas we can look at. The auditorium at North, perhaps classrooms and hallways in the future. So there's still some projects out there that'll come down the lane here in the next few years. And on the right side, you can see the program benefits and features. Environmentally, saving dollars for our budget, kind of self-funding our program, and then longevity. We want that to last year after year, and it continues. After 13 years, we want it to continue for many more. Here's a neat little chart that shows you 380,003. The 3 is key. 380,000 BTUs. That's 12 and a half years. Thanks, Mike. Equivalent to the following. 6,697 passenger cars did not drive for 1 year. So when you look at it from that angle on gas reduction for District 99 in 12 and a half years, it's just amazing to put it in perspective for that.
32,000 metric tons.
Most importantly, our program depends on everyone. The success that we have is not only you, the school board, for helping us and proactively implementing our program from the start and continuing to support us, our community, our maintenance and custodian staff, and as I mentioned, teachers, principals, support staff. It is a group effort, and we appreciate everything that everyone does, and it adds to the success of the program. That's all I have for you. I field any questions that you may have.
Thank you for saving us so much money that we can put towards programs for our students. So that's really a wonderful thing. Over the
Certainly
years.
I have
exciting.
just a couple questions. Back at the beginning, we look at the savings and over the last 13 years. Have we seen good savings just in the last couple of years? Is your feeling? Do you have any feeling for, has it been something that's been pretty consistent year after year, or have there been a lot of years where we've done really well and other years where?
I think the booms, the spiking has been in gas with the boiler project at South in 2012, and in past the electrical and the LED lighting for the gymnasiums and the auditoriums. So you're going to see that. And what we've seen electric-wise the last couple of years, and the outdoor parking lot lighting. Previous to that, major gas reductions because of South's boiler plant.
Has there ever been a year that we haven't had program savings?
No, we've never seen a
I
year
think-
where we have seen a loss.
I think that's
It's kind of
impressive.
it's kind of a two-pronged thing. One is the human behavior that Jim talked about. And I think that early on in the program, we gleaned a lot of savings by changing human behavior, but we hit the low-hanging fruit.
Word I was going to use in just a minute.
So, you know,
Phrase.
and we're still making improvements there, but we're not making the dramatic improvements that we made in the first 3 or 4 years. What we're seeing now, when we put in projects that have significant energy savings, that creates, like the boilers, much
Right.
more efficient, some of the other things we've done much more efficient. That's where we're gleaning a lot more right now, more of the big, as Jim said. I don't want to, I'm just paraphrasing what he said, is we're getting the big jumps now from the actual changes in our facility versus the human behavior. We're not getting the same jumps because we've already sort of got that, but we're not sliding backwards either.
That's the nice
I think
thing,
it's
they're being
important.
consistent.
So how are we integrating some of this with our master facility planning going forward? For instance, there's probably some good things we could do with windows at both campuses to cut down on heat loss and heat gain that would pay in the long run. And those are, but it's not, we're no longer talking about the low-hanging fruit anymore.
Right.
We're talking about things
There's
that
a
need to
lot
be
of
part of a plan.
opportunities. We'll look at all things that are available as we go into a section of a building, if we ever do a master facility plan. And we are reusing an area specific to windows. A great example will be the cafeteria, big windows in the library at North that are double pane but really have aged. And that would reap big benefits by replacing them. I want to add to another piece to where we see a lot of savings, and we're, especially in the last 3-4 years, is our billing automated systems. And the fine tuning of that, and the fact that we have many more of our mechanical units, large ones, on this BAS system, which we call it billing automation, where we control it better. And we're controlling it to a hour of the day, the
Yeah.
weekends, and we're bringing those temperatures and we're bringing those downtimes to as much as we possibly can to still make people comfortable and not have them running when there's not people in the
Just like we
building.
do with our own homes.
Right. And I think that's gone a long way in the last few years. And every time that we put a mechanical unit in or change in a building, for an example, the auditorium units that are due up for North High School, we will put those on, because they're not on a BAS system right now, we'll put those on a system where we can control it. Instead of having it pneumatic, we can now control it off a computer. Big savings.
Well, I think that there's just tremendous opportunity here. And as we go forward thinking about our master facility planning, when we can talk about doing things that are actually going to save us money in the long term, that's something I think the community is going to be very interested in. So this, I think, should be a point of emphasis in that. Hopefully
And our
it will be.
students.
Yep.
To echo Mike's comments, I know, Mark, there are firms out there that, are specifically geared towards energy savings with, the public sector, and who are willing to finance these projects, to outlay the capital that's necessary to undergo a project such that Mike's talking about with the windows, with guaranteeing an energy savings process. And I don't know if we've ever looked into those companies or investigated that as an option.
Yeah,
we
we've
have.
used Johnson Controls and a few different other companies.
Precision.
There's a little bit of part of the calculation of that energy savings is actually future depreciation of your equipment, which is not necessarily a cost, but it helps make those work. But we do look at those, especially when there's a rapid payback. When we look at plans, items that are in the 5-year plan, we do think about those that have a faster payback for energy. Typically, the under 3 or under 5 years would be targeted ones. Again, there's a lot of those projects out there, actually, but we have used them in the past.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Please convey our thanks to Lisa.
Oh,
Will do.
yes,
Partner, too.
absolutely.
Thanks, Julia.
And is someone going to take her place?
I'm not
as-
sure I'm not sure we've decided how that's going to work yet.
Yeah. Okay, all right,
She's-
well, keep us posted on that.
She's actually going back into the classroom more too, correct?
Actually, this was a stipend position.
Right.
Yeah,
She's still teaching.
It won't change her teaching assignment.
Right.
but her-
Well, I was thinking she had reduced some of her class load before, but she hasn't.
She has not.
She's still with us, that's right.
freedom of information requests?
The board received 3 Freedom of Information requests in the last month, and all 3 were fulfilled in letters by Mr. Stalen.
Okay, thank you. The consent agenda, does anyone have anything that they want to remove or discuss? Do I have a motion for that?
I move that we accept the consent agenda as presented.
Second?
Second?
Okay.
Mike Davenport,
Aye.
Julia Beckman,
Aye.
Don Runner,
Aye.
and Terry Pavasich.
Aye. Motion carries. Okay. Recommendations for action. The award bid for paper.
Jim?
Thank you.
So Jim showed it.
Okay, yeah, the Jim College showed.
That's it?
Thanks, Greg. In the memo, you can see that we had 5 vendors bid on copy paper for the school district. We sent out to 18 suppliers. We've got 5 bids. Couple things we've seen this year, a little increase in white copy paper, $1.72 per carton. In a carton, you have 5,000 sheets. So Mark, I know you know exactly what 1 sheet of paper is, but I think it's .003.
Look, you're the one that's got the exact
Oh.
information. Put my place.
There's the 3. So a slight increase, but we saw that offset because our colored paper, we had a less demand for and a need for yellow and many other colors this year. So a little reduction in colored paper, which kind of offset that cost. So not much of a difference in the low bid and what we paid for last year. Murnane is a new vendor to our district. They also won the bid for District 58, so they've been in business a long time and meet our requirements for quality products. So we will go with Murnane if you approve. We asked the Board of Education to approve the award to Murnane for $71,768.90.
Do we have a motion?
I move that we approve an award of contract to Murnane Paper, Elmhurst, Illinois, for copier paper for fiscal year 2015-16 in the amount of $71,768.90.
Second, please.
Okay, now we can discuss it if anybody has a discussion.
I just had a quick question. Are we decreasing our use of paper, or is it about the same, or is it increased? I'm just curious.
In the past 5 years, what we've seen is pretty much the same on white paper, but a reduction
In the
in
colored
colored.
paper.
And I think it's partly me. I try to go back to the schools and say, why do we need we used to have many
Rainbow
colors.
colors.
Colors I'd never even heard of.
It's all right.
And there's been a reduction with that.
Limiting the
The
creativity.
artistic, that's what I'm saying.
I like the fiscal conservative.
And the white papers pretty much stayed consistent, but I think with 1-to-1, I think we're going to see a little reduction in near future. So I think I'll come back next year and we'll have a slightly
I
less.
was just curious
need.
because, the hope was always that with computers, we would cut the
Right.
use of paper, et cetera. It hasn't happened, but that's okay, as long as we get what the kids need and the staff needs.
Well, I
And-
wonder too if we don't kind of, I think there was quite a reduction, and you reach a point where it kind of levels off, I think.
Mm-hmm.
It gets down to, you're only printing off what you really need to print off. At least that's what I've done at home.
Are we in a buying group?
I'm sorry?
Were we in a buying group?
No.
For paper, or was
in-
that
in
just
two-
the,
I've investigated that, and many of the, District 58 is one I wanted to, but they purchase in January, so they're offsetting 6 months to where our budget is, so we wouldn't be able to purchase till July 1, when our new budget comes in. But still looking into that, to possibly work with Mark and purchase earlier in the year, or wait till later in the year, so it's mid-year, or stay on our own.
because, I was just thinking that might save us some money if we, and
Especially
delivery
since it's the
costs, I
same
mean, my
vendor.
goodness, if they're gonna deliver here, they're gonna deliver
Right.
next door,
Mm-hmm.
practically, so, okay.
Very good point, and I'll continue looking into it.
Yeah, call the vote?
Mike Davenport,
Aye.
John Runner, Julie Beckman,
Aye.
and Terry Pavasich.
Aye. Motion carries.
Custodial maintenance and ground supplies, Jim is presenting again.
Yes.
Thank you, Mark.
Da-da-da-da-da.
Okay, this is one of my favorites. I think this has been very successful. I, back about, 7 years ago now, started this with Marty. And I know it's a lot of work, and it always is, putting these bid documents together and opening these bids. But I'll tell you, it's well worth it. So we are now bidding custodial, maintenance, and ground supplies. Mostly on the maintenance side is filters. We had 15 vendors submit bids, so each year we get a few more. And the beauty of this is, these are products that we bid every year, and they're pretty much the same. And the bidders are looking at these, and they're competing, and they're trying to put a low number and get our business. And each year, they're going down lower and lower. So I'm just sitting back and enjoying
Way
the
to go.
competition. And what we've seen this year is unit prices even going lower than last year or the year before, which is fantastic. And heck, I'm not doing a thing and just putting the products out there. And I think it's great that, all these other bids that we go out with, contracting and everything, are all different items. These are pretty much consistent the same year, from salt to cleaning supplies. So I think it's great. And once again, we've seen some good prices, especially on the custodial side of it. So the vendors with the lowest prices for one or more products is a large list. So I got it up there. It's also in my memo. So there's many. We reviewed all the bids. Lowest prices meet our requirements and standards. Want to mention that in the last 3 years, especially the last 2, we've had a few products that we had to look into, make sure they had a green, clean label on them. We changed a few, bid that out differently. Every single one of our products, cleaning in this school district, is complying with Illinois standards of green cleaning, and that's fantastic.
Great.
Great.
I'm so proud of that. It really makes a difference, and they're good products, and they're cleaning our buildings well, so very happy to see that. So with all the vendors, including the ground care supplies, they all meet our requirements. So we asked the Board of Education to approve the awards for custodial maintenance and grounds supplies to all the vendors listed in an aggregate amount of $139,360.51.
Okay. Do we have a motion?
I'll just so move.
All right.
Right, and I'll second that.
Okay. Any discussion? Okay.
Mike Davenport,
Aye.
Julie Beckman,
Aye.
John Runner, and Terry Pavasich.
Aye. Motion carries. Resolution for abolishing the working cash fund?
Yes, we're switching to Mr. Stalen. This is a project that the board administration been working on for several months. This is the final stage in it.
Really, and not much more to add than that. The abolishment is different from the abatement, which we did last month. The
Right.
abatement was partial reduction into the other funds. This is the abolishment now, so that we'll have one less fund in the operating fund group and in the district. Very pleased that this will simplify our total presentation, so members of the community should have a better understanding of how the district's financial stability is in quicker form. And this will go to the educational fund. It has to be effective at the end of this fiscal year, June 30th, 15 here. And it does have some investments that are in that fund. The way that's set up is that the investment income as it comes in after June 30th will go right to the education fund. So it's very commonly done, and this is, the resolution been prepared by attorneys and their approval of it.
Okay.
I would move that we approve the resolution abolishing the working cash fund as presented.
I'll second that.
Any discussion? If not,
Don Renner,
Aye.
Mike Davenport,
Aye.
Julia Beckman,
Aye.
and Terry Pavasich.
aye. Motion carries. Okay, renewal of the food service contract. Is that,
Mr. Stalen,
Sure, and this is typically, I think even in some years, we've had this as a consent agenda item, although we have a new carrier this year, a new provider this year with Quest. It'll be their second year for next year for them going forward. The contract is limited to the consumer price index that affects that fiscal year, so they're limited to 1.5% increase. That's the CPI. It doesn't include any new construction, it's just the basic CPI-U for next year. But because we don't have we can have them come in and actually do a report. I think towards the beginning of the next school year, I think it would be good to have them come in again. Because they did some things throughout this year to try and increase participation. I think it increased between 1% and 2%. It's not the 5% or higher that they expected. But they did start to gain a little ground towards the end of the year. And they did a survey of students about mid-year, which then they started to tweak their menus and tweak some of their offerings. And even part of this next year, there'll be, it'll be sometimes difficult. We won't have exactly apples to apples because we are going to be required to increase the price of the lunches next year to $2.65 because our lunch price is still at or actually a little bit below what we're getting reimbursements for. So we need to have the regular meal price be higher than what we're getting reimbursements for, or we'll lose some of those reimbursements. So gradually, we'll have to get this up probably to $3 to $3.10, $3.20 over the next several years. But next year, it'll go from $2.50 to $2.65, and so that may have an impact on participation as well because, it's raising the price. They're also tweaking some of the a la carte items along with this, a few items, not that many, just to try and get more focus of the students on the a la cartes, for instance, they do have a second entree to add to type A meal for those individuals that want a heavier meal or bigger meal. They didn't do that as early as we thought they would do that. They did that towards the last part of the year. They've been tracking that to see how successful it is, but they're going to start out next year with that as a regular option so that if somebody wants a second full entree, they can get that. I think it's $1.50 adding that to the regular meal. So they've made some changes. I think overall we're very pleased with them. And they're a very creative group and they're going to keep trying new things. We are going to, we walk North High School's cafeteria. One of the things that's been a constant problem and that is the queuing in lines. And particularly at North because they have a couple rails that once you start in a line, you have to go through and register at that line. And so if you have a popular item in that line, it gets jammed. And so we're removing some of those guardrails, not entirely, but we're removing so that students have an opportunity to go to different registers, which might keep the lines down. And so we're making some changes for next year that'll hopefully we'll just keep building each year.
I think that really the lines are.
let's get a motion first.
Oh, okay. Absolutely. So
You want to move?
Move to read.
I'll move that motion that the board authorize continuation of the food service contract with Quest for the 2015-16 school year, and that the administration be authorized to sign the attached contract renewal agreement for food service management services, nonprofit food service program.
Second.
Now you can discuss.
Thank you. So, I think reducing the amount of time somebody has to stand in line is really, I think, going to be key to increasing participation. I mean, I think that's a big factor at both campuses, and so appreciate that they're thinking of doing some things and that we're going to make some adjustments. I'm also thinking that, once again, kind of tying this back into master facility planning, I'm wondering if there are some things that we should be looking at with our cafeterias that could help improve the wait times so that more students are participating in the lunch program, and win-win situation. So I'd like to, I don't know that was really something that we talked about a whole lot in terms of the master facility planning, but I think that's something that we ought to.
That when we discuss it again, there's a lot of things that we can, bring to that discussion.
The
And that's
ultimate,
what-
of course, would be a longer lunch period, but that
Well,
just
that's
can't happen.
impossible, I think.
20 minutes is just such a short length of time.
Right.
So, but it can't happen so we do have to think of other methods.
Right. Whatever we can do to help get the students in and out.
And to keep
quickest.
the prices at a reasonable level so that the students can afford it.
Some of that we're locked in, though.
I know,
As
I know.
Mark explained.
I know, because food costs keep going up. I mean, look at all the droughts and all
It's
of
not-
that
That's,
that
they're
are
not
going
going
to
to go down
affect those.
anytime soon.
Yeah, they're going to affect those food costs, so.
The government's mandating that we raise to 265
265, right.
next year, right, Mark? That's
Yes,
something we
well,
have to
they're
do, or if we
mandating
don't
their-
do it, we have to cover
Right,
the
we'll
difference.
lose the equivalent of it in reimbursements, so.
Yeah.
And actually, we're pretty low compared to, I think our feeders with smaller meals to smaller kids, not all of them, but half of them or so are already at $3 and $3.25. So
Oh, my
they're
goodness.
getting a pretty good break when they come here for a bigger meal.
Yeah.
Cafeteria, so.
Pun intended on the feeder.
Yeah, right. Not intended, but it's, I'll take credit.
Yeah.
I'm going to like sitting next to you. This is good.
All right, any other discussion? Okay, we'll call the
Mike
vote.
Davenport,
Aye.
Julia Beckman,
Aye.
Don Renner,
Aye.
and Terry Pavasich.
Aye. Motion carries. Okay, any old business? No, I don't see any. New business? You sure? Okay.
Okay.
All right, second reception of visitors. This one is, any concern for anything in the district? Okay. Communications and announcements. Anything on Lend?
Len canceled its May meeting. Obviously, Mrs. Agnos, the chief lobbyist, has been spending an incredible amount of time in Springfield, like everyone else who's involved in state government in any way. So we did cancel the meeting. There is a meeting of the Lend leadership tomorrow morning, 8 o'clock, which I'm presuming is about planning the June meeting.
Julia Sassett?
I did not bring my report with me, I'm sorry, but SACID is heading into the summer with, I think, a record number of students signed up for summer school. I think it's up over 200, it might be 300 kids, so they're really serving a large population with a variety of issues to face, but it's wonderful that they keep the kids in. And still, my monthly report, they're still looking for space for our growing alternative program, which meets at the Czech Center, and now it's at capacity. They've had to turn kids away. So they're going to try to do something about either finding more space or adding to that space.
You probably mentioned before, is do they have an alternative place for them to move they're right now in a school in Lombard, an old school in Lombard that's half
They
shared
have-
with a preschool and the other.
They have found alternative
they found
space, yes,
spaces for that,
right,
'cause
for
that's-
those
'cause
classrooms.
they've got to be out of there
Like now.
Yeah.
July 1st, I think, right. But thank you for asking. They did find those alternative
That's
spaces.
good to hear.
It's primarily, that's kind of temporary, though. They still, Dr. Volpe is still looking for a really permanent solution for all of these space issues, because it's really difficult to move these special ed kids from school to school. They're
Right.
already traveling miles from their home, and it's just really difficult. So hoping that he can find a donor that would give us a lot of land. How would that be to start off with? But something like that. Anyway, I hope to have more to report, because our Facilities Committee continues to meet.
Okay. Anything on the Humanities Council?
We will be meeting in another week or two, so I'll have more to report, but I know they have a lot of wonderful programs going on.
Absolutely. The Education Foundation, we did not have a meeting this last month, so we didn't have a quorum, so we,
Oh, that's correct.
yeah, so, all right. And IASB, I believe we've got a thing about the master's program there that you can look at. And I'm sure if you have any questions, you'd be happy to call Deb, and she'll answer those. Do you have anything else? Just the upcoming board meetings?
Yes.
Okay. I have July 8th, I believe it is. Let me look and see. Yes, July 8th is the public hearing concerning driver's ed, and will be at 7 o'clock at South High Cafetorium.
Actually, that's, the content of the meeting is about seeking a PE waiver to continue to offer driver ed as a alternative for daily physical education for one semester of the year. That's the purpose of the, no, it's quite a tricky issue.
Yes.
That's the purpose of the hearing. And by law, the hearing has to be on a night that's not a regularly scheduled board meeting. That's why it's on Wednesday.
Whatever.
And the reason we are doing it suddenly is because in order for it to be considered for 2016-17 school year, it has to be acted on by the board, I believe, July. Is that correct, Mr. Curry?
Yes.
Ergo, the board can decide not to support it too, but to support it, in order for it to be reality for 16-17, we have to act soon.
And I think maybe it's worth pointing out that this is something that we've been doing. And
Right.
every other high school in the area has been doing this for a long time, but we're going to seek a waiver from this, just to make it official, I guess, even though
Well,
we're going to be the only
correct.
ones
We
doing
believe
this.
that this is a relatively common practice in the Chicago suburbs. Many of us have worked in other systems, and that's the practice in those systems as well. It's never been identified in a ISPE review, and we've had two since I've been superintendent, and it's, my knowledge, it's never been identified or cited. However, now it appears to be we have a dispute, and one way to resolve it is to seek this waiver, and that gives us 5 years to decide if we're going to do something differently in the future, or
Keep
Is there-
doing the same thing.
Is there any concern that they wouldn't grant the waiver?
I honestly, Mike, I can't say.
Okay.
We're getting counsel from a person who, an attorney who previously worked in this area at the State Board of Education. So we think her guidance is pretty sound. But I can't say. I would presume it'd be looked on favorably, because it's a
Okay.
nominal, it's a nominal reduction in daily physical education, as opposed to a widespread one, but it's, that's not something, I guess this is kind of new territory.
I guess my question is also what happens to the 15-16 school year?
Right now, nothing.
Assuming that the waiver is approved, it would be approved in time for second semester.
Okay.
Oh.
Oh, okay, okay. I'm sorry, I thought it was the following
It
school year.
would for that half year,
Okay.
and then the following, and then we would need to reapply. And as Dr. McDonald said, it would be for 5 full school years.
Okay, very good, very good. Okay.
Dr. McDonald, are there other districts that are facing this issue, holding these hearings, as far as you know? I'm just
As
curious.
far as I know, there were less than a dozen such hearings in the state of Illinois in the last 2 years.
Wow. But there probably might be more coming up. Who knows?
Okay.
All right, thank you,
Thank
thank you.
And then, of course, the July 20th.
20th.
That's when we make
That's our
decision.
regular board meeting, 7:30 here at
Make
the
our decision
ASC.
then on the, I'm
Right.
sorry, I didn't mean.
Quite a few things we'll vote on. That.
Yes,
And then the parking lot, you can all look at your leisure. All right, do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Go Hawks!